It has been a while since I've done one of these behind the scenes videos, but they are always so much fun to do, I thought it would be a nice Christmas treat. We have covered a bunch of the earlier seasons so far, but for Mighty Morphin in particular, we have only covered Season 1 and the movie. So in today's video, we will be taking a look into the behind the scenes of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 2. Let's get into it. So, as always, the majority of this information comes from the awesome Power Rangers Ultimate Visual History, a book I highly recommend to all Power Ranger fans. Again, most info in this video is from there. So, Season 2, 1994. Now, the idea behind this season was to freshen things up a bit. As the show was running 5 days a week, it could be a real challenge to keep surprising the audience. So Saban Entertainment wanted the bad guys to be badder, the monsters to be more creative, and the Rangers more resourceful. Going into the second year, says Cheryl Saban, some parts were easier and some parts were harder. Storylines became more involved, and our team grew with the project. We rose to the occasion. The production also wanted to up their game, implementing better special effects and overall production values. But one overriding factor was always in the middle of the production team. It needed to appeal to a specific group, Cheryl says. It had to be a show for kids. Now, the second season footage came from the 7th Super Sentai series. Everything that could be used from the Sentai footage for the American first season had been, and Saban Entertainment did not want to ask Toei to continue creating new footage for them, as they had for Zeo 2. One of the big challenges with Sentai is that so much of the footage features purely Japanese actors, explains Bryan, executive producer of the Power Rangers franchise. So there's only so much footage you can adapt. Now, after removing the footage with Japanese actors and branding, and scenes that simply could not be used in the States, they were left with a relatively small amount of usable footage. Haim Saban and the production crew thought out of the box and decided to take the next Sentai season and figure out how they could stay within budget but also be able to create their own characters and expand upon the hugely popular Mighty Morphin storyline. We also wanted to do more of our own stuff, says Jackie Merchant. We wanted to branch out. As the series continued, this became common practice, although the Japanese footage remained a mainstay of the show. Really genius if you think about it, Casantini continues, because we could never produce the level of high quality action stunts and giant mecha robot battles on a kids show budget if it wasn't for the ability to adapt existing Japanese footage, which we still do to this day. Now, at the start of the season, Rita Repulsa was still making trouble in her Moon Palace, but her status in the villain hierarchy had changed. When Season 2 debuted in July 94, viewers learned that Rita is actually in service to the Emperor of Evil, Lord Zed, who, in his own quest to rule the universe, thinks Earth so inconsequential that he left Rita to conquer it. Following her failure at the hands of the Power Rangers, Zed moves into the Moon Palace to finish her job. Lord Zed is the show's first original villain, a result of the team's drive to add more original material to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Lord Zed was designed by a comic book illustrator who would come in and conceptualize everything for us, says costume designer Danielle Baker. He normally drew really dark comic books. He would come in and do 20 or 30 illustrations a day, full colour and very fast. They were just beautiful. This helmeted and heavily muscled villain is exponentially more powerful than Rita and far more frightening. He can create giant projections of himself and use his magic staff, topped with a huge zapping Zed, to create monsters rather than relying on the monster-matic. Despite his abilities, he can only create monsters from tangible things. He uses plants, animals, and everyday objects, resulting in villains such as Pursehead and Lip Syncer, made from Kimberly's purse and lipstick. The monsters based on animals actually came from other unused Sentai footage. Zed also has his own personal Zord, Serpentera, the largest Zord ever created. Guys, don't forget, if you want to know more about Serpentera, we have a full video on it that you can go and check out. Now, on set, Lord Zed was performed by Ed Neal and voiced by Robert Axelrod, who also continued to provide the voice for Rita's henchman, Finster. When he was cast as Lord Zed, Axelrod thought the character would only be around for an episode or two. I had no idea he was going to be the new sheriff in town, Axelrod says. He's the ultimate bad guy, with some of the same qualities as Darth Vader. I gave his voice a grand Shakespearean delivery because, after all, he's royalty. Lord Zed's first act is to reseal Rita in her space dumpster and flinging her into space. This time she lands on Earth, where her space dumpster becomes an object of curiosity when it's discovered by Bulk and Skull. When Rita inevitably finds her way out of her dumpster, she returns to the Moon Palace with a new agenda in mind: marry Lord Zed. This story had real-world significance as a way for the producers to soften Zed's dark and fearsome characterization following parental complaints that he was just too scary for kids. Given that storyline, which led to the two villains tying the knot, would require all new footage, the producers decided to recast Rita with an American actress. Barbara Goodson was initially interested in trying out for the part. I thought, well, I'm doing the voice, let me audition for her. So Goodson auditioned in a revamped Repulsor costume, which was extremely heavy for her 5-foot height, and at that point I wondered, do I really want this job, she said. The producers still wanted Gordon's voice, but hired the considerably taller Carla Perez to be the face of Rita. The producers found an actress who resembled the original Rita, Machiko Soga, and put a storyline where Rita took a youth potion. Goodson notes this was a smart idea, as the new actress would be able to work for years. Now, what about the Zords? They also had a bit of a refresher. The Zords in Season 2 from the Sentai footage were different from the Dino Zords in the original, so the show needed an explanation for the change. In the Season 2 opener, The Mutiny, which debuted in a coveted primetime TV spot, Zordon and Alpha 5 used the power of thunder to change the Dino Zords into the even more powerful Thunder Zords. The Thunder Zords were more mythical in origin: a red dragon, green lion, blue unicorn, yellow griffin, pink firebird, and eventually a white tiger. The actual change from Dinozords to the new Thunder Zords was produced by the American visual effects team using green screen, live action puppetry, and miniature scenery, along with some digital augmentation. Now, we of course know that there were a few bigger changes in the second season of Mighty Morphin, the first of which was a Ranger of another colour. As the season continues, the Green Ranger becomes weaker and weaker. When Tommy loses his powers completely, he becomes green no more, no pun intended, no longer able to fight or to morph, and he travels to his uncle's mountain cabin to deal with the loss. The Green Ranger had appeared in a limited number of episodes in the Japanese series, but he had gained so much popularity in America that he had been a central part of the show. At this point, there wasn't any more footage of him left from the Sentai show, and the studio had no budget for new Green Ranger footage. But the loss of the Green Ranger was devastating to fans. Saban Entertainment received millions of letters asking the studio to bring the Green Ranger back. Now, while he could not return in this season, there was another character available from the Sentai footage, a White Ranger, so it was logical to switch Tommy Oliver's costume and add him back to the team. When the White Ranger arrives, his teammates are thrilled to find that Tommy is under the helmet. Now, although the White Ranger solved the Green Ranger crisis, there was one more challenge left to face. In the original source footage, the civilian who became the White Ranger, named Kao, is only 9 years old. When morphed, he grows larger, but maintains a childlike physicality in his combat sequences. The production wanted to use as much Japanese footage as possible, but no one was going to buy that Tommy Oliver being shorter or clumsier than the other Rangers when he fought alongside them. So to solve this issue, the production team opted to recreate the costume in the US. When all 6 Rangers were together, they would film new footage, but the White Ranger would fight alone. In the US version of the story, Zordon gives the White Ranger the White Tiger Thunder Zord, which is summoned by Saber, an enchanted saber that can speak. And it can fly, and it can shoot energy blasts from its eyes. Again, we have a full video on Saber if you want to know more about him. Now, the original prop for Saber was sent to the US from Japan. The saber was oversized so you could get a good close-up on it, says visual effects artist Rick Schick, who got a chance to handle Saber. It was a puppet that was operated by pulling a string that made its mouth move, but a smaller version was made for Jason David Frank's use in the American film scenes. Now on to the big change of this season. The most drastic change that we all knew I was going to be talking about was midway through the second season, as Trini, Zach, and Jason, also known as Twee Trang, Walter Jones, and Austin St. John, decided to leave the show over contractual disputes. The cast change was hard to take because it was sad to see people leave, says Jason David Frank. We had started the show together with our fingers crossed. We had gone from nothing to something huge. Writer Jackie Merchant admits that this was a challenging circumstance to deal with. It was a difficult shift, and it was pretty intense at the office. As a solution, we came up with the idea of sending them away to a peace conference. The last episode to use original footage of the 3 actors was Opposites Attract, the 20th episode of the second season. In the subsequent episode, the Black, Red, and Yellow Rangers were only seen in their morphed appearance. In the Ninja Encounter Part 1, their replacements were introduced: Rocky DeSantos, Aisha Campbell, and Adam Park. Auditions for the new Rangers once again involved open casting calls in 5 cities. Coincidentally, the 3 Rangers who would win the roles all auditioned in Dallas. Karen Ashley, who had been a member of the girl group Crush, spotted an ad on the local newspaper and decided to give it a shot. I didn't know what the show even was, but I went anyway because it was a local open audition, she says. When I got there was a line of people all the way around the building. Fortunately, there was a guy ahead of me who schooled me on who the Power Rangers were and what they did. Ashley got a call back and was flown to Los Angeles to audition for the producers. Steve Cardenas had been heavily involved in martial arts since the age of 12 and was working as a karate instructor when he auditioned. When I showed up, there was more than 4,000 people there, he says. I didn't think I was going to make the cut, but they narrowed it down to 30, then down to 3 in Dallas. Cardenas also was flown to Los Angeles to audition for the production at Saban Entertainment. Then Johnny Young Bosch had been studying Shaolin Kung Fu in Texas under Master James Clark, who showed Bosch a newspaper advertisement about an audition for Power Rangers. He told me to go for it, says Bosch. After his first audition, he was sent to Los Angeles as well. The producers put together 2 final groups of 3 from auditions in Dallas and LA. While the Texans killed time before the final casting decisions, Cardenas asked if they could meet and take pictures with the current Power Rangers, so at least we could take that back to our lives, he said. After waiting another 90 minutes with the other hopefuls, Cardenas recalls. They called us into another room and said we weren't going to get to take a picture with the Power Rangers and we weren't going to meet the Power Rangers because we were the new Power Rangers. I didn't think I'd done that well, says Ashley, but later when I was talking to Shuki Levi, he said that I was cast because he just liked my personality. He said that from the minute I walked in the door and he saw my smile that I had the part. He just hoped that I could act. After we got the parts, they told us that we didn't have time to go back home, says Cardenas. Our parents had to FedEx us our clothes. They brought us onto the set and straight to wardrobe to fit the Ranger suits. I didn't even know which colour Ranger I was going to be. Now, the actors weren't actually aware that they were going to replace 3 of the Rangers until they were cast. So we didn't know what we were walking into, says Ashley. We didn't know it was a tense situation or a good situation. If people were going to resent us just being there. David Yost visited the set almost immediately when he found out the new actors were being cast. He just wanted to stop by and say hi and tell us not to be nervous, Ashley continues. They were very happy we were here. So Adam Park, Aisha Campbell and Rocky DeSantos made their first appearance as the Rangers in the 2-episode story The Power Transfer. In this episode, viewers learn that Trini, Zach and Jason have chosen to attend the World Teen Peace Summit in Switzerland. Their departing scene was created using archival footage. After Zordon performs the transfer, Rocky becomes the Red, Aisha the Yellow and Adam the Black Ranger. And that's pretty much it for the behind the scenes of the 2nd season of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers today, guys. There is loads more info about this season in the book if you want to pick it up for yourself and learn a bit more. Of course, they also cover the behind the scenes of every other season. Now, while I've touched upon a few details in these videos on the channel, there's so much more to learn and the book is definitely still worth you getting. Alright guys, that's it from me today. I really hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you have or had a great Christmas and New Year, depending on when you watch this. Also, if you're into trading cards at all, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball, Magic and others, we have some really great giveaways going on over at Blue Eyes TCGs, so be sure to go and subscribe to that channel and check out a few videos for giveaway info. Loads of stuff coming there very soon. That's it from me today, my friends. I hope you all have a fantastic day. May the power protect you, and I will see you next time on the 6th Ranger.